Vinyl community, I'm back to do a recent vinyl finds video, and I have a stack of records to show you, a mixed bag as usual, some prog, psych, jazz and heavy rock in this case, I think, even a pop record. And I'm gonna start off with a question for you, and that is, I've really enjoyed the live videos that you guys are doing. I have a hard time participating in them because my schedule with my daughter, it's hard to just sit down one particular, like, I don't even watch TV that way anymore. I just watch movies and series when I have the time to do it. But I always watch them when they get published afterwards, like Fred's videos. And it inspired me to maybe do one myself if there is an interest for it. I will probably announce a date and a time in that case, just like Fred did, and I'm guessing maybe a Sunday instead of Saturday, and 2 o'clock Swedish time, the same time as Fred are doing them, should be pretty good, I think. And what I was thinking, if there is any interest of it, is to show my entire Swedish prog and psych collection. I think that's the most, maybe the most interesting thing, the part of my collection that stands out a little bit, and maybe there is some questions about. So I'm just guessing that I'll do the video as long as it's needed to go through the 3 crates of material. You can ask questions and stuff like that when I'm doing it, and I'll publish it afterwards if YouTube allows me to do that. So please comment if you have an interest in it. If there's a group of people that think they have the time and the interest of me doing that, I'll do it. So yeah, records. I'm gonna start off with some cheap ones, like 4 cheap ones, then move on to the little more rare stuff, and I have a Swedish prog grail to show you also, and you will get some clips of these sound samples of some of these records too, as usual. Okay, so starting off, 1968, Moby Grape was in the studio to record Wow, and they had some time over in the studio, I think that's the case, and they released Grape Jam, a jam record that some groups did these kind of things. You have the 3rd record on All Things Was Past by George Harrison. This is really good with Skip Spence, you have Jerry Miller, but also Al Cooper and Mike Bloomfield on this. And I found this on a first press, Columbia 360 sound stereo there, but with glued over like CBS records. But I'm going to give you a sound sample of this because I think this is really good, much better than I thought it would be. And just for being that cheap, you can get this really cheap. Listen to Boysenberry Jam, or Never. Let's see which one I'll choose. Here you go. I hope you dug that. For $4 I found a copy of Sonny Rollins Trio, Sonny Rollins Brass. This is a 1963 reissue of this, 1958 output, otherwise on Verve Records. Got this that cheap because it's pretty beat, and actually when I got home I can't really enjoy it, it crackles too much. But I just want to show it because I'm looking for a better version of this, a cleaner version. Also, late 70s maybe reissue of the Animals, first record from 1964 or 66, not really sure, on Starline Records. I think that's a cheap label that they did reissues on. And if you like that sort of rhythm and blues, Beatlesque music, this is right up your alley. And the last one of the cheap ones I found, 1970, Chairman of the Board with Give Me Just a Little More Time, which is a fantastic soulful record. I love this. I listened to this at a friend's house, and I've been looking for it ever since, and finally got it. has a cover of Come Together, the Beatles song, which they do a pretty good version of, and also Feeling Alright and My Way. So the next sound sample, and the first one to be with a little bit more obscure stuff. Super glad to find a copy of this. This is Trúbrot with Mandala, the Icelandic group Trúbrot. I showed a record, Lífun, just 6-8 months ago maybe for you. And this is the fourth and last record that they released. After this they threw in the towel. They were finished as a band. This was recorded in Denmark 1973, and I guess that maybe it sold a little bit better there in Denmark and on Iceland, but not internationally. And there's not many copies out there. And as you can see, the label is part of the artwork, released on a self-titled label, and they actually got sponsorship by a flying company on Iceland. I think it's, yeah, Icelandic Fly to Europe, Icelandic Airlines, to pay for the record, which is kind of cool. I don't know if I have any other records that was sponsored by a company like in this way. Lífun is a better record. It's more bombastic, it's more operatic, symphonic prog, very huge in the sound. This is more rock oriented, straight up pop songs, and not as well written, I guess, for the radio back in the day to really hit it off. But if you listen to this 2-3 times, it's fantastic. Really strong songs. And I'm going to give you a sound sample so you know what I'm talking about. Here.
In forms of a tree, breeze, or a turning action, with the sensation that something is there, indicating where it came from.
And I don't know if I showed Lífun, but here's a copy of Lífun, the Lífun record. Mandala with the band Trúbrot from 1973. Moving on, this is a record I've been wanting for a while, and you see it sometimes, but I found a first US press of this Taj Mahal's self-titled record from 1968. Really good. I mean, this is classic blues stuff, a little bit more rockier maybe than the typical blues, standard blues, but in 1968 I guess that they started to sound like this. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Them again. Found an early US press of this with the different artwork that you are used to seeing with this record. And this is also a classic. A lot of you folks know about this. This is on Parrot Records. I think it's a second US press, but an early one. And has some killer tracks. Van Morrison sings fantastic, and I mean, just awesome. I have their first one on an early UK press, and now I have an early US press of this one, and I think my Them collection is complete. And now we come to the part where I talk a little bit more. I'm going to give you a sound sample. If you remember, I said that there's a Swedish prog grail in the bunch, and yes, oh yes, there were. 1970, Atlantic Ocean released Tranquility Bay. Let's see if I can do this. Folds out like this, and you have pictures of the Vietnam War on it. Now, Atlantic Ocean was a group composed of Björn Jison Lind and Greg Fitzpatrick, along with a lot of other musicians. They recorded the record. They tried to shop it around on the labels, in the big labels in Sweden. No one wanted to touch it because of the Vietnam political cover, I think. So they went to Finland, and they actually released this, not many copies, but they released it on the Love label. And this is a very rare Swedish prog record. I'm super happy that I have it in my collection, finally have it in my collection. This is a little bit more poppy or rocky, kind of a Swedish prog record, more of that sort of like standard songs, not that folk inspired. And I think Greg Fitzpatrick was a huge influence on that sort of sound, maybe along with Björn Jison Lind, but he did a lot of folk stuff later on. When they split up, they only released this record. When they split up to become Jasons Fleece and Fläsket brinner. So 2 parts of the band. But it all began here. And the first side is more comedian, with some spoken words in Swedish, but strong, more heavy pop songs. Pretty good. The problem I have with Atlantic Ocean is Greg Fitzpatrick. I don't think that the guy can sing, and the harmonies are just awful, but the music is great. Now the second side, and this is the main thing, is called Weather. And that's just one long one long song that goes into different movements. And that song is just fantastic. Just 20 minutes, very like deep Swedish prog at its finest. And even the vocal work on that side is good if you compare it with the first side. And I'm going to give you a sound sample of this just to let you know how it sounds.
The snow is going to swarm down the chimney and fill up my room.
So that was Atlantic Ocean, Tranquility Bay 1970 on Love Records. And after that burp, we move on to more modern jazz. From this year, Emil Brandqvist Trio Within a Dream. They actually made it to the top 20, I think, of the all genre selling records in Germany. And they've been touring Germany for 3-4 years now. They are selling really, really good and doing well for themselves in Germany. This is a Swedish band, and they are actually from my town. There's Emil Brandqvist, and this guy here, Max Thornberg, is a dear friend of mine. And if you like that sort of like atmospheric sound that I think is typical of Sweden, check this out. And staying in the jazz category, 1973, Don Cherry released this, recorded in 1970, but I'm pretty sure it was released in 1973. This is Relativity Suite, recorded in the US with US musicians like Frank Lowe, Hugh Redman, Leroy Jenkins, Charlie Hayden, Carla Bley, Ed Blackwell, Paul Motion, Mocky Cherry is also on this one. And yeah, this is really, really good. I've been extremely interested in the sound that he was going to make if he went back to the States. He was in Sweden in the early 70s, releasing a lot of really, really quality stuff in the beginning of the 70s in Sweden with Swedish musicians. But so I guess that the mental state that he was in has to be the same as when he did stuff in Sweden, but with US musicians. And it sounds, I mean, there's this sort of like theme that Don Cherry kind of sound to it, but you can really hear the influence that this that the other musicians had on the music. Top quality stuff, and I'm slowly building my Don Cherry collection, and the stuff that I've got up to now, nothing has disappointed me. Okay, so next one I'm going to give you a sound sample of is this one. I found this dirt cheap, and I'm really happy that I did. This is heavy rock, hard stuff, Bolex Dementia, with awesome, nice gatefold, textured sleeve, and looks like this. This is a first UK press on Purple Records, and it's their second release. They did one called Bulletproof first, 1971 or 2. This is 1973. As I said, a little bit more hard rock, heavy rock maybe, but still with that sort of like almost Deep Purple kind of feel and sound to it. John Gustafsson, that was part of this band, he was part of Quatermass before this. You can hear that, in my opinion. He also did work later on with Roxy Music, and he actually went to Sweden to do a project called Baltic with Swedish musicians and English musicians. Yeah, really good. And I'm going to give you a sound sample so you know what I'm talking about. I'm still looking for their first one, but this and that are kind of moving away in price. You could find it for 5, 6, 7 years ago. You could find it for maybe $30. Now it's $70 for these. I bought this for 10, 15 bucks, I think. So in great condition. The guy didn't know what he had, so I was happy. But here's a sound sample for you right now. And 2 more to go. Slowly building my Nico collection. I mean, I love the girl. She did some amazing records. And this is the 4th one called The End. So now I have her first. I have the Surge of Songs. And this one, I'm still looking for Marble Index. So if anyone has that, give me a call. This is from 1973 or 4. Produced by John Cale, and almost all the instruments are played by John Cale, so it's a John Cale and Nico kind of record. But you also have Phil Manzanera doing guitar work, and Brian Eno doing synthesizer work on this one. On the little bit later, late 70s, early 80s kind of Island Records label. Check out The End, the cover of the Doors song. She does a fantastic work of that. Very doomy, dark, almost heavy in the sound. It's heavy. The themes are heavy, just like we want to listen to when we listen to Nico. I listened to this today, and it's marvelous, marvelous record. Check it out. And the last one. This was released in 1972. It's more rare than hen's teeth. You can't find this. I mean, before you start, you have given up finding an original of this one. So this is the reissue, the official reissue that they did in 2005 of Necronomicon's Tips zum Selbstmord, which translates in German to tips about suicide. And 1972 releasing it with this cover artwork, which actually folds out like this. So a lot of layers. They did a very good reissue of this, limited to 500 copies, which I think is more than the original. The original release. I have number 307. I got this pretty cheaply, actually. It's starting to move away a little bit in price, maybe 70, 100 bucks for this. Well worth the money in my opinion, but I bought this for maybe 30 in unplayed condition. And it's a typical krautrock record, 1972 Germany, but more sparse in the production. I think I read somewhere that they only had 4 channels to record this on, but still, again, you have the normal instruments on it, pretty good vocals, and at one point or another you have choir on this too, which just really melts in well with that dirty kind of doomy sound. A fantastic record, one that everyone should have heard, at least if you're a krautrock fan or a fan of progressive music. I'm going to give you a sound sample, and I could choose any one of the songs here, but yeah, here you go. So that was Necronomicon Tips zum Selbstmord from 1972, reissue 2005. And there's some acoustic parts on this as well that is just to die for. Really interesting record. Collector of krautrock's wet dream, in my opinion. I hope you enjoyed that. I have some stuff, really killer stuff to show you in the next video, but I'm gonna save up so I have a batch of records. So yeah, take care. Please leave me a comment about the live video if you want to view that, and please comment on the records also. And I'll talk to you soon.